Morning. The time is 11 a.m. My name is Richard Williams. I'm the chair of the Kane County Development Committee. I'm calling a special meeting to order. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Arroyo, Doherty,
Here.
Garcia,
here.
Iqbal, Linder,
Linda here.
Pepe, Leonard, Berman, Williams.
Williams here.
You do not have an in-person quorum?
We do not have a quorum, but the purpose of this meeting is for the 2026 budget presentation. So there will be no official action taken here today. So we will proceed with the meeting, but unless a quorum appears, we could not vote on anything. We have remote attendance requests from Mr. Berman and Mr. Doherty. I see Mr. Doherty online. Is there any objection to Mr. Doherty appearing remote? Seeing none, he will be permitted to attend.
Thank you.
We have no minutes to approve. Is there anybody signed up for public comment? There's no public comment. So we'll dive right into the Development Department 2026 budget presentation. I'll turn the floor over to Mr. Van Kerkhoff.
Good morning. Mark Van Kerkhoff, Director of Development and Community Services. Blair, are you able to put my PowerPoint up on the? Okay, and while Blair is doing that, because of the transitions this year with some of the programs and staff from the former Office of Community Reinvestment coming over to the Development Department, it's a little bit of transition update and 2026 budget, since the transitions that are happening now are also proposed for the 2026 budget. So it's reflective of both. So first of all, this follows the format of my usual annual budget update presentation. So first, it's a summary of the programs the Development Community Service Department handles on behalf of the county board: building and zoning, property code enforcement, administrative adjudication, which is sort of court light for a number of other departments, including water resources violations, our countywide planning program, economic development, our Kane energy efficiency program, farmland preservation, growing for Kane, our local food businesses, and then some new programs that we just picked up back in June. The Community Development Block Grant Program, the Kane County Home Elgin Consortium for use for affordable housing projects, the Grand Victoria Riverboat Fund Administration, including the external grant agreements and administration that were recently passed, and then the Emergency Rental Assistance Program, which is ending in the fall of 2025. This is fine. Yeah, same thing. Thank you very much.
Want to make sure.
Yes, no, thank you for checking. So this is the same presentation that's in your packet. We also provide support for various committees, including this one, obviously County Development, but also for the Agriculture Committee and the Jobs Committee. And our staff also works with Director Wilnick and contributes to the Energy Environmental Committee. There we go. We also support a number of appointed boards and commissions that do recommendation work for the county board, the Zoning Board of Appeals, the Regional Planning Commission, Historic Preservation Commission, Farmland Protection Commission, and then also new in mid-2025, the Community Development Commission, which makes recommendations for use of the county's CDBG federal funds, and the Kane Elgin Home Commission, which is a combined commission with appointees from Kane County by Madam Chairman and appointees from the city of Elgin, reflective of the consortium. So for 2024 and up midpoint of 2025, this was our organizational chart. One thing I want to point out as we move into the transition is that there has been, really for the last 15 years, no division directors. Prior to that, for many decades, these divisions, particularly building, zoning, and planning, did have managers for those particular programs. When the recession hit in 2008, there was a lot of cutbacks by attrition and whatnot, and those management positions were never reestablished. But the count has been 22 total positions, 20 full-time, 2 part-time. So what does that look like with the transition with additional programs and staff? We had those 22 positions. From OCR, the Community Development Division, there were 5 positions that were transferred earlier this year to the Development Department. So that would bring it up to 27. But working closely with Jamie Laberlo and HR in terms of what's really needed moving forward, we looked at reducing the overall count by 3 positions through 1 retirement or 2 retirements and attrition. So that for our 2026 proposed budget, we're coming through the transition here with 24 total positions. So this is the new organizational chart that we're going to be, we're actually in the process of implementing. This was done again with many thanks to Jamie Laberlo, but also Madam Chairman and Committee Chairman Rick Williams on reestablishing some of those manager positions, which would be promotions internally, as well as the addition of a assistant director of development, which is one of the transferred positions from the former OCR structure. With that, again, sort of the summary on it, it's 24 positions, brings over 4 positions from OCR, reduces the overall headcount positions by 3, and establishes new manager positions for building and planning, which would be promoted from within. Back a slide. This is partially an update slide. This is a request that is currently going to be on your, or will be on your agenda at the September 9th meeting through the administration committee, and that's for capital funding for redoing the 4th floor to accommodate the new staff. So we have a old and inefficient layout, which is currently upstairs. You're welcome to go up and tour it.
It's scary up there.
Oh,
It's scary up there. You could get lost.
it's mauve. Very mauve. So anyway, so that's going through the process. We have a new efficient layout, which will accommodate the new staff, but also replace partitions that predate my tenure with the county. Happy to answer any questions. This is sort of an update one, but would appreciate your support when this resolution is before the full board to move ahead. So generally, I break my budget presentation mostly focusing on the general fund, which I'm going to do first, and then towards the end, I'm going to cover the other special funds that our department also utilizes, but I'm going to focus on the general fund first. So just as a general overview, the proposed general fund budget for 2026 is revenue positive by over $1 million. Generally our expenses are 10% less than the 2024 actual and 15% less than the 25 amended budget expenses. So our formula for achieving that is on this slide. One is as you know, the committee is working with staff on increasing building permit fees, which would be effective January 1st. But then also we have been historically paying some of our planning staff salaries from Fund 400, which is an internal transfer from the Grand Victoria Riverboat Fund. But we're increasing the staff funding from that fund, but also with the new federal programs coming over to the department, utilizing more of our existing planning staff to support those programs. And some of those salaries will also be partially paid for out of CDBG and the home programs. So that's how we generally are going to achieve the items on the right-hand side. And we are overall projecting about a $80,000 increase overall in our permit fees for the development department. Some of that we think would be from the building permit fee increase. Some of that would be from what we're projecting for continued increase in solar applications, especially the community solar projects, some of those things. So here's the summary just with the sort of the bottom lines out of the budget reports. Again, just reinforcing that the development department is generally consistently revenue positive by anywhere from 800,000 to $1 million. And we're proposing to continue to be, as well as reducing the overall expenses from the general fund. Any questions on the general fund before I move on to other funds?
Well, let's go back to that slide if you could, Mark. 14. I mean, I think this is an extremely important slide for this board and for the entire board to understand that the development department generates $1.159 million to the county, and we are coming in 10% below our 2024 budget. So I really appreciate the hard work that Mr. Van Kerkhoff's department has done here. This is in part due to the efficiencies that we are seeing in combining OCR with Mr. Van Kerkhoff's office. Mr. Van Kerkhoff got a salary increase, but we are using grant funds to pay for that. So I think this could not have worked out better for the county. So I'm very pleased to be having this budget conversation. I just wanted to go on record in saying that, so thank you.
And I agree with that, Mr. Williams.
Madam Chair.
There we go. We'd be remiss if we don't thank both of them, Jody and well as Mark,
You're
for taking on that extra responsibility as well, because I know we missed you yesterday at the Economic Development Organization meeting, and I was told you were head over heels in dealing with rental assistance grants. But thank you very much for taking on the extra work, because I know you've decreased your staff, but you've increased your responsibilities by a lot. And it means a lot to us for you not backing off and saying, no, 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 please, and giving it to Jody. But thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate this whole transition. I've had a tremendous support from board members, from other staff members, especially Jamie Labrillo, but also Kathy Hopkinson and the budget area, and Michael Isaacson with the health department, also part of that transition and taking on additional staff and programs. But I do want to point out on this slide, on the very right-hand side, the little red box with the 1.173,857, just to note that amount matches exactly the amount that was presented at Finance Committee yesterday in Appendix A of the resolution for what they're looking for the elected offices and departments to come in at or their cap for expenses. So we're happy that matches up exactly, as well as that we're part of achieving an overall cost savings for county board departments, because we wouldn't operate without finance and IT and HR and the other departments that support the work that we do. So,
Well, and while we're on this slide, and I just want to point out to this committee, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the revenues anticipate the permit fee increase that we're going to be talking about in September.
yes.
So we will be, the permit fees haven't been adjusted since 2019. So what we've done is we've taken the CPI for the last 3 years and we've increased those fees, at least as it relates to Mark's budget. Jody's is a little different, for the last 6 years to account for the significant increase in the CPI. The other thing about that is the people that are using the services are paying for the services. It's not being assessed against the taxpayer, which I think is an important thing to consider. But we will need the full county board support in enacting that resolution. And if there's any concerns about that, we would appreciate some communication now versus in October. So thank you.
If I may, yesterday's meeting with the Economic Development Organization, I'd like to invite, I was going to talk to you about this this week, and obviously as well, Mr. Williams. We're going to put together a task force with some businesses. I would love for you to be there as well. And Mark, of course, you have to be there. They want to talk about efficiencies and how they can expedite their permitting a little bit faster. And I'm sure the fee structure is going to be presented. That was not, I know it's going to be. So we can discuss that with businesses to get their recommendation as we start developing our Economic Development Corporation's ability to work within the community, along with making sure that we are presenting the best efficiencies we can, whether it's time or price.
Thank you.
It'll be a good conversation.
Great, thank you. And then just to clarify, the building permit fees that we're talking about would only apply for projects in the unincorporated area
Of course. Yeah, and they know
Um,
that.
as well. So,
The goal for this task force would be to make the recommendation then to Metro West and share what we have learned for their consideration for the mayors, because we can't deal with that
Right.
at all.
Corinne, can you get closer?
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Have it
Is
close.
that- There we go. Is that better?
Yeah.
That's better. Okay.
need a longer cord.
Or you can move the next chair over. That's allowed.
Okay, I think we're ready to move on, Mark.
Okay, thank you very much. So there are a growing list of other funds that we utilize in the development department for different programs. So this first slide has our existing ones. I have another slide that covers the fund, the additional special revenue funds that have been transferred over. So the ones we've had traditionally, Fund 400 Economic Development, that's funded through the internal riverboat process. That we are requesting the same amount for as previous years in order to be ready to have our local match for grants that we've applied for successfully from DCO for tourism and for the infrastructure for things like the Fabulous Fox Water Trail launch sites that are under construction right now and for marketing. But also, you know, to be nimble and to be able to apply for grants that have a match. We have sort of that set aside ready to go. But then also, as I mentioned earlier, we've increased the amount that we're paying for planning division staff salaries. And really, I'll make the case later in the presentation, but falling under all three E's. What do we do in the development department planning division is really education, environment, and economic development, all three. Quality of Cane is pretty much a pass-through grant. When we do get a grant, we'll land it in and kind of work it out of that fund. The main grant that we're currently working with in that fund is our just awarded last year, $750,000 3-year grant from the National Park Service for actually bricks and mortar construction assistance to our historic buildings in the rural parts of the county. 425 is our blighted structures. This was also originally seeded with the riverboat funds, but we've used now 3 different cycles of state funding in order to reimburse the fund. This goes after the worst of the worst buildings. We get a court order to get it demolished. And we've actually had now 2 that have turned over. So we've gotten funds replenished from resale and satisfying the liens that we place after we do the demolitions. Farmland protection, also through the Riverboat Fund. And this is used to be the match for the federal funding that we get. This request is the same for 2025. We're still hoping for the new farm bill, as well as preparing for the last minute dump of existing money as well. And again, they're matched by federal funds. And just to note that 2026 is the 25th year for that program. So we got some special things in mind for that. And then finally, Growing for Cane was established for specifically looking at our local food producers. We're finishing up a USDA grant that was about 1.7 million. And then we typically get other Compeer, Donnelly, other private sector not-for-profit grants that we run through that program as well. And then the new funds that have come under our management, Fund 120, the Grand Victoria Casino Fund, known as the Riverboat Fund. Now that budget is in progress pending internal requests. Generally right now, everyone's internal requests are baked into their budgets currently. Community Development Block Grant Program, that's an annual program from HUD for this next program year that we're just starting. Is about 1.2 million, but there's always funds from multiple years being used on projects. And then just to note for this end Fund 402, these both follow a program year calendar, which is similar to the federal calendar, not the county's fiscal year. So it makes budgeting a little bit interesting. Fund 406 is under agreement with the city of St. Charles. They have a housing trust fund for affordable housing. We manage that, but we use that in combining our own CDBG and home dollars to have more funds to apply to affordable housing. Using this fund, it would need to be in the city of St. Charles, but it's an effective combining of funds to support projects. 410 Elgin CDBG, back in 2016, the city of Elgin asked Kane County to manage their CDBG program for them instead of staffing it themselves. About a month and a half ago, the city of Elgin sent us notice saying that they wanted to discontinue our management of their program, that they're going to reassume management. So we're in the process of phasing that out as well. So that'll end officially sometime this fall. And then 412 is our emergency rental assistance program. That is also phasing out this fall. So this has been a 3 or 4 year in the budget, but we'll be ending it this fall and closing it out completely in January. So happy to answer any questions on these funds.
Yes, Mr. Roth?
Roth here. A couple questions. You have like 3 funds that are being funded by the Riverboat right now, because you said the one was reimbursed. So 120 and 400 and 430. And those are all important. What percent of the river fund are we taking for those 3 or a dollar amount? My concern is there's other departments, you know, kind of watering mouth trying to get money from the Riverboat too. And we got to be careful not to
Sure. Yeah.
give it away.
So currently, and the Riverboat Committee hasn't met yet, but the budget is in your packet for the Riverboat Fund. So currently to balance it, it's pretty much a balance with the money that's coming in. It uses a little bit, about $35,000, I think, of existing cash balance, but it's pretty balanced with all the internal requests that exist for this year. Our specific request, I'll start with Blighted Structures. That was actually originally seated at about $150,000 as a one-time thing. And with the revolving loan, we haven't asked for any more Riverboat funds. Farmland Protection is the same request as last year, $750,000. And the main difference is for Fund 400 in order to pay for those additional staff salaries and reduce the general fund budget. That's up at 580.
Okay. And I have no concern about that. It's just other departments are starting to get in line saying, I want some of the Riverboat too. And
Yeah.
at some point, it's not a money tree. So, okay.
Yeah. So, and that's a little bit maybe, not in the purview of the committee today, but Chris Dahl, who had managed worked with Mr. Caius and the Riverboat Committee in the past. We have all the internal requests in.
Okay.
They're all reflected in everybody's budgets.
Right.
So I'm not aware of any additional requests coming in.
All right. And then the second question is, you said City of Elgin is, not wanting us to manage, and then the 412. What's our relationship with St. Charles? And you foresee that continuing at this point?
Yes. Yeah, we see that.
Because I'm getting
continuing.
more involved relationships with the city. So that's why I'm asking.
Great. Yeah, I would be happy to join you at any meetings to
Okay.
talk about that. We have
Yeah.
one current project,
Okay.
rehabilitation of Carroll Tower, that we're looking at
Yeah,
putting funds and trust fund money
okay.
towards.
I started 6 months ago attending. They have a monthly St. Charles IGA intergovernment agency. So I've been going
great.
in representing the county and the Forest Reserve when nobody from the Forest Reserve shows up. But so I'm starting to build those relationships, which I think we should be doing for every city in the county.
When you meet with the St. Charles, I'd like to come because I was there with the formation of that.
Okay,
So
that's fine.
give you a
They
little
have a
history.
calendar. I will get you the calendar and,
Yeah, no, it's
Um,
a wonderful organ.
okay. Yeah, and I don't want to take up time here, so we can take that offline, but yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll move through these quickly. We've already been talking about this summary, but in terms of the countywide planning division programs that are being now co-funded through Fund 400 and CDBG and home programs. It's actually really, we already had staff that were working on affordable housing and housing plan, housing ready plan with CMAP. So to have the planning and the funding under the same roof, it's going to be, I think, really beneficial again. And then just the other, there's a lot of, this is a quote from the Brookings Institute, but there's a lot of literature out there now about how economic development has changed in the last 5 years, really, where it's as much about good community planning, open space, quality of life, as it is some of the business incentives and other things. And those are all things that the county has invested in over decades and decades with its planning program, stormwater management program, other, environmental programs. All those, contribute to making the county, a great place to live. And then on the right-hand box, just sort of a summary of again, sort of the return on investment in having these programs makes us very competitive for outside grants that are either passed through to help local food farmers or historic property owners directly, or can help fund our planning activities. So happy to answer any additional questions, or otherwise I'll turn the mic over to Director Welnick.
Any questions for Mr. Van Kerkhoff?
No.
Thank you. I'd like the record to reflect that Mr. Roth has joined us, so we have now established a quorum.
Sorry, I'm late. I was at a Forest Reserve meeting.
So I was on time.
Yeah.
So was I. So.
I'm going to turn it over to Jody Walnick, who's going to give the environmental management and water resources budget report for 2026. Go ahead, Jody. Thank you.
Could you forward it to oh, you got it. Thank you. It's slide 100. All right. Our 2026 budget for environmental and water resources. I'm Jody Walnick, the director of the department. As you've seen this slide before, we like to include it because it does show how many programs we have under the various committees at the county. The primary committee for my department is the development committee, and that's why we're here today presenting the budget. Although many of the activities under the 650 Enterprise Surcharge Fund do fall under environment and energy. And so I'm thankful to have Madam Bates here today to support us in the budget presentation as well. We also report to the Administrative Committee on a number of programs, as well as the Ag Committee. Our org chart, this is actually unchanged from 2025 to 2026. In both years, we've been fully, in 2024, 25, we've been fully staffed. So when we're looking at the numbers, we do have our full salaries in the comparison with the 2024 actuals. So this is my main slide with the numbers. As the board has requested, we do have the 2024 actuals. These are the general fund numbers for our department. And as Director Van Kerkhoff mentioned too, I will have our special revenue funds on a different slide, but I did want to focus on the general fund today to make sure that we have the numbers in front of the board as was requested. So if we're looking specifically at salaries, in 2024 actual, we had $624,000 in salaries. 2026 is 632. That $8,000 difference was the 2% COLA that we received in 2024. And then we'll see that this 2025 budget, some of those funds were actually moved into a riverboat request. Our commodities were slightly different. We do have conferences, which is the main item that comes out of those commodities. They are usually travel to conferences in the state of Illinois, and they support both our certified floodplain manager licenses and our professional engineering licenses that are required for the staffing of the department. The electric aggregation program is for our unincorporated residents. There is a civic contribution coming in that supports a third of the salary of the sustainability manager. We are increasing that as part of the number below, but you will see the numbers are practically identical, only a $863 difference. So in total, in comparing the 2026 budget to the 2024 budget, we are $11,235 higher, which is 1.6%. So in order to rectify that, as requested by the board, we are doing fee increases to the stormwater management as similar to Director Van Kerkhoff's department. Our fees were not increased since 2019, so it's been 6 years. However, under the stormwater ordinance, we are required, as I've mentioned previously, to utilize actual staff dollars. We can't just randomly select fees as per the state's attorney. And so we did go through the original 2019 and did a presentation at the regular August Development Committee meeting, went through our numbers. We increased our hourly rates based on benefits and commodities and everything else that we use for our department, and bumped those numbers up. And then the resulting fees were presented with the intent of coming back in September with a resolution to increase those fees officially. We currently do not have any fees for the work we do with Director Van Kerkhoff's department on zoning. So we're proposing fees for that. And we're also proposing to increase the contribution coming back to the county for the administration of the electric aggregation program. So in total, our increase in revenue would be $13,685. I do feel like these numbers are very conservative. Not having run through those, I feel like these are going to likely be higher than this, but I didn't want to overshoot being the first year.
Talking
I'd like
about the
to get
revenue side, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I'd like to get the information, and then for 2027, I think we'll have a more accurate number. So the result is, in comparing the 2024 to the 2026, it's a $2,450 decrease in our budget.
Question. Thank you for being conservative, because, yeah. What's that percentage decrease then? Do you know the 2450?
I think it was less than 1%.
Okay.
Because
It is what it is.
1.6% is up here, so it's,
Right.
I think, 0.05 or something
Okay,
like
okay,
that.
that's fine. Thank you.
Ridiculously small.
No, I understand. Thank you.
So, just in summary, the general fund revenue and the general fund expenses coming in for the 2026 budget, in summary, these are our numbers. That includes those fee increases here, as well as the zoning increase, which won't actually come directly into our department. It'll come into the revenue for Director Van Kerkhoff's department, just in the way the permitting software is set up. Here you go. It's 0.3%. Sorry, I did have that in there.
Thank you.
Sure, I thought ahead. And then our special revenue fund expenses are approximately $2 million for the 2026 budget. And just to note again, that $70,000 in salary from our 2025 budget to the 2026, how we reduced that was with a riverboat request that would come into the enterprise surcharge fund 650. And that is for the salary of our sustainability analyst. So if there's no questions on the general fund, I can move on to the special revenues. Good. Okay. So we had quite a variance between our 2025 expenses in these special revenue funds versus the 2026. And so at some point I tried to do percentage increases, but the numbers were ridiculous. And so I backed off, and I'm just really putting the budget in here for 2026, because if you're trying to compare 2025 to 2026, the numbers are going to look crazy. And so I'll explain why that is exactly, so you understand it a little bit better. So the fee in lieu of detention, that is money that we take into a special revenue fund for any developments that are just not able to provide detention facilities. And so that money sits in a fund until we have a project that we're able to provide a regional detention facility. And that happens to be the Big Rock Regional Detention Facility, which is along Route 30 that we're working in combination with Vacation Land. So we'll be using this funding as well as some cost share funding to complete the piping into the existing system for the Village of Big Rock. And that will solve a lot of drainage problems out there, which will be fantastic. The Riverboat NPDS and where some of our ARPA money landed is our 405 fund. And this has increased also as well. We have several things going on there in 2026. Part of that, which is the piping for the Big Rock cost share drainage storm sewer project. And also our floodplain analysis, that those funds came in from ARPA, and that's a 3-year project. And so we're seeing additional funding coming in for that ARPA project into that fund for 2026. Similar to the fee in lieu of detention, we also have a wetland fee in lieu where there's wetlands, not Army Corps jurisdictional wetlands, but isolated wetlands that the county regulates that are potentially impacted by developments. These potentially also fall within our communities, because most of our communities are not certified to apply the stormwater ordinance wetland section to their developments. So the county collects all those funds on behalf of the municipalities as well as unincorporated areas. There's 6 municipalities that are certified, however, and they use their own funds. But this really helps out because it's really difficult to reestablish a wetland in a very small area. You want to have a 50-acre parcel, and that costs a lot of money. So it makes sense with the wetland fee in lieu that's all coming back to the county, and we have the forest preserve properties that we can work with them on recreating some of these wetland areas. And so we've been working with them for several years, and we have a proposed wetland bank that's going to be constructed in 2026, fingers crossed. And so this budget has gone up significantly for that construction cost of the fee in lieu. Our electric aggregation program, this is where the electric aggregation funds actually come into that are then transferred for that piece of the salary into the general fund. That number has gone up. We're in the final processes of working with the state's attorney on the agreement with the provider. And so we're looking at additional revenue coming into that fund this year, as well as some very exciting energy efficiency programs that are going to save our residents money that will be rolling out next year. The Settlers Hill Enterprise Surcharge Fund is the 650 fund, which I mentioned falls most of the activities fall under E&E committee. This has increased by that $70,000, which is a request to the Riverboat that the Riverboat would then be transferring money to support that sustainability analyst salary in 650. And finally, 5,300 is our SSA levies for our subdivisions that have completed stormwater projects. We don't anticipate any new levies for 2026, and the levies that are currently ongoing, repaying loans or doing maintenance in those subdivisions are flat. So there's no additional change on that one.
Mr. Chair.
Before we open
Okay.
up for questions, can we just let her wrap up? I want to make a few comments and I'll open up
Okay,
for
that's fine.
questions. Are you?
I'm fine with that.
Questions?
So before we open up for questions, a few observations. You know, in working with the budget on Jody, it's pretty clear to me that she runs a lean organization, right? She has, 7, 8 people underneath her, and she administers, $2 million in special revenue funds. She's done a great job bringing a little bit of money back to the county. I mean, she's meeting the goal we're asking her to meet. I mean, she's coming in a little bit under the 2024 number. So I appreciate that. I don't really see any other way to get that number lower than you did. I mean, it is what it is. And I think it reflects that not every department can be looked at the same way. I mean, they provide a vital service to the county and, you know, they do a great job with the limited resources we give them. So thank you for that. So with that, I will open up to Mr. Roth for a question.
Okay, Roth, and I agree with what you said. The smaller departments, it's harder to meet expenses. On the two, where we're charging a fee of detention and wetland, did you look at increasing those fees too? Is that part of that increase?
So it's in the ordinance, it's the actual construction costs of the land plus the construction or our set figure, and it's the greater of the two. So as construction costs go up, it's gonna be more likely to be the construction cost. What we did change, and this was going back to 2019, was in the 2019 stormwater ordinance, there's a new requirement for 5,000 square foot of pavement, roof, whatever it might be. You have to create a best management practice. And most often, those are small rain gardens like you'd see on a residential lot. You know,
Right.
the downspouts come into this tiny little rain garden.
Right.
And so at the time, it allows a fee in lieu, but we didn't have a good number for that fee in lieu money. And so what we were using over the past 6 years, we were looking at the actual construction costs. And if we didn't have a better number, we were using that detention number
Okay,
in lieu of the fee for the best management practice. We now have enough data and we've looked at the other counties and the numbers that they're using. And so there is in our fee increase, there's a proposed best
Okay,
management
okay.
practice number in there for the first time. And I think it accurately reflects over the last 6 years of data, the actual construction costs of those little rain garden situations.
thank you. Follow up on that. You're showing the expense, so that's money taken out of those funds. What are those funds currently at dollar amount? I'm assuming we have surplus in there, right? Or,
Yeah, so boy, you're really testing me here.
Sorry.
So the fee in lieu of detention, and again, don't quote me.
no,
quote
no,
me on
no,
this.
and I'm
It-
okay with that.
Just a range of numbers. The fee in lieu of detention is about $500,000 right now. The Riverboat NPDS ARPA, that is
Well, yeah.
probably less than $100,000 because that money comes in and is
Right, yeah,
expensed
no,
right out.
that'll be gone.
Yeah, the wetland fee in lieu is actually over $1 million because those are bigger dollar figures when you're impacting wetlands.
Okay.
And it is supporting 9% of our wetland specialist salary. And so what's nice about that is that fund earns enough interest that we're able to utilize a salary and then we can use 100% of that wetland fee in lieu money to actually build wetlands, which
Okay.
is what it's intended for. The electric aggregation program, fund balance is sitting at about $600,000 right now. And then with the 200 coming out of that, it'll drop below the $500,000 mark in 2026. And then, the landfill fund, as we've talked about before, that $3 million, lower limit of
Right.
that. We'd like to increase that back to the $4 million here soon. But that's sitting at just above $5 million right now.
Okay. And we're investing all that through the treasurer?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. And then that
Okay.
goes back into our programming. And so that interest is what we're actually operating because there's no more money coming in. The
Right.
landfill's closed.
Right, no,
There's
I,
no
and
money.
I,
So, you know, we're
So-
always pushing for another transfer station here in
So we're
the
not
county
tra-
that we could get some funds
Right.
back into there. But that is only the only income that's coming into that.
Right.
Everything else is expensed out. So like the riverboat money comes in, but it goes right back out.
right,
Our hauler fees come in, but they go right back out to support our programs. So we're really operating off that interest. And so if we didn't have that interest coming
Right.
into that
We would
fund,
be-
we'd have to find the money from somewhere else.
right. Okay, thank you. My long-term concern on we're taking money out of the hauling fee. Since we're not really other than interest doing, at some point, we're gonna have to pay expenses if there's a leak, right?
Yeah.
And what we have in there probably won't even cover.
No, and it's not intended to cover a big major
Okay.
problem, but the intent is that if there is a problem, we have funds to utilize right away.
Okay,
And there will be the ongoing operating costs once Waste Management has completely signed off with IEPA. You've got leachate,
Right.
disposal costs, which are going up because of that PFAS issue. And then you've also got settlement. And the more settlement that you let go in vegetation management, the more leachate you end up with. So it's
Right.
like a double-edged sword there. You want to make sure that all the water that's falling on the landfill is efficiently getting off the landfill and that there's no trees or any kind of woody vegetation growing on the slopes, because those find their way through the clay cap and then you end up with more leachate. So
Right.
again, it's a constant battle of keeping those leachate numbers as low as possible.
so over time, our expenses are going to go up for preventative, and I'm not recommending any changes, but something we need to look forward, be proactive, that if those costs go up, we got to pay for them. So let's not wait until we're in trouble.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Walner? Mr. Van Kerkhoff?
I just had a comment since we have a little more space in the special meeting and we're talking about our budgets and that's just to, make sure the committee is aware, and it's probably fairly obvious, but a number of the functions in Jody's department, particularly water resources, stormwater permitting, subdivisions are integrally connected to the way the private sector looks at what they want to do in terms of improving rezoning, improving property, doing the site construction, to the final building occupancy. So, the work of her team integrally supports the work of our building and zoning team, in that process. And then in addition to the fees that are collected, a fee for service on these, is that it increases the property values of those parcels, which end up, improving everyone's property tax situation. So
It also
a
helps prevent-
long-term gain, but wanted to point out that in terms of the revenue positiveness of the development department is a lot to do with the support and work of Jody's team in achieving the final end.
Agreed, and it's really just the way that the departments are structured, that most of the fees come through development, but both departments are equally important when it comes to approving a development and a permit. And, another point to Mark's comment there, not only does it increase property values, but it saves their work, saves property owners from flooding in their basement and long-term stormwater issues. And, you can go to, what is that, property in Aurora that flooded in 96, Cherry Valley or whatever it was. Cherry Hill. That should have never been built the way it was built. And had it been evaluated properly, those people would,
Valley.
yeah, they would not have had, 4 foot of water in their house, but, so.
That's how
Good
they sold
observation.
it. They said it was a hill.
Orchard Valley is really a hill and Cherry Hill is really a valley, but I have something more important to say. I want to emphasize the savings to the county of the sustainability programs that we have, including this beautiful solar field, which was going to start out saving us $200,000 a year. But as ComEd raises their fees, that savings will go up and up. So our wonderful sustainability department is saving us $5, maybe $6, maybe $7 million just with that one program. And Ms. Walnut could probably take off a few more ways we're saving money. So
Any other questions? I'd entertain a motion I don't believe there's a need for executive session. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Sonia will move to adjourn.
Ms. Garcia moves, seconded by
Linder.
Mr. Lindner. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Great meeting.